I was wrong about Clemson, and I sincerely apologize.
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, thank you for making this your first listen every single day. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this show. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place one $5 bet, and you will get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed if you win that first $5 bet. That's right. A $5 bet gets you $150 guaranteed as long as you win that first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And we got a lot to go on today's show. We got a lot to get to. Of course, SEC Power Rankings. We do them every Monday. We will get to that later in the show. But those of you know, today is Mea Culpa Monday. Mea Culpa Monday, honestly, guys, my favorite day of the week. And for the newbies, A, where have you been? You should be here every day. But B, it's where I get to make fun of myself. It's where I get to tell you, the listener, you, the viewer, how incredibly dumb I am. And we're 1-4 in the Friday 5 bets. So that's not good. But there's more to it. There's more to be embarrassed by. And we are going to get to all of that. But first things first, the biggest mea culpa that I have, the Clemson Tigers. I bought into Clemson. I thought Clemson was a national championship contender. We talked about that a couple of days last week, how Cade Klubnik had become a downfield threat, how everything started to come together. Wesco was coming back. The schedule was relatively easy. And Clemson was on a fast track to the ACC championship game. And if they won out, which was certainly a possibility, maybe even more, maybe even the college football playoff. I was wrong about Clemson. I apologize. They were overrated. Dabo is a fraud. Cade Klubnik has not progressed. Clemson fans, I'm sorry to get your hopes up. I truly was sorry to get your hopes up. And haters and folks who have responded after my good friend Fred Siegel at Old Takes exposed it. You were right. I love Fred. I love Old Takes Exposed. Because why? It gives me easy content to talk about on Mea Culpa Monday, but also I love making fun of myself as well. Check this out. Cade Klubnik actually had been a downfield threat. He was over 8 yards per attempt 3 times last year. Try this on for size. Game 2, 14.5, 8.7, 8.2, 7.1, 7.5, 8.8. And then they get to Louisville, and Louisville's defense acts like it's the first 3 games of the season again. 4.1 yards per attempt. Klubnik, 33 of 56. Now, yes, they were in a situation where you did have to pass to sort of get back into the game. I get it. But that doesn't change the fact that I thought they could win with his arm. I thought that Cade Klubnik was the kind of guy who has progressed, that has clicked with Garrett Riley, that is not necessarily a Heisman Trophy candidate, but one who at least could be effective. And that his success was going to lead Clemson to bigger and better things, lead Clemson to the ACC championship game, maybe the ACC title, and perhaps the college football playoff. And I even said last week that I thought Clemson was one of those teams that, as the season progressed, could get to a point where they could win it. I thought that Clemson was on a track where it was developing, it was becoming complete, It was dead set on becoming a team that can actually win the playoff, not just get there. I was wrong. I'm dumb, you're smart. I'm bad, you're good. I'm bad looking, you're beautiful. All of those things that you guys want to say on the X machine, all of them are true. And Clemson fans, again, I apologize for getting your hopes up. You deserve better. And it won't happen again. As for the Ohio State Buckeyes, I was not a big Will Howard fan going into the season. Even throughout the season for the first 2 months, I'm like, he's okay. He's not great, but he's not bad. He didn't have a great game statistically against Penn State. The pick six right off the bat. He called a mean pick. Penn State called a mean pick six. Will Howard should not have thrown that ball. Clearly. The play, the fumble through the back of the end zone. Sometimes you just have to tip your hat and say, safety made a good play. And that's all that happened. Look, I believe a lot of college players, and I think it happens in the NFL too. They see that pylon and they get a little lazy. They play fast and loose with the football. They sense a touchdown and get reckless. I think that's all that happened. Yeah, Will Howard should not do that. Everybody does that, right? So I'm not going to fault him for that. He played smart. Chip Kelly called a great game. He played within that great game plan. He distributed the ball where it should go pretty much all of the time. And for the most part, except for like one or two overthrows, he was fine. He was fine. And that's all that Will Howard needs to be, as long as the offensive line plays well. And it was phenomenal. Ohio State fans, you knew when I made the pick over with Penn State, topping the Buckeyes, the reason was the offensive line. Essentially, that and Will Howard, only two reasons. I never expected that offensive line to go from horrible against Nebraska to pretty damn good against Penn State. Did not think that was possible. Now, is Ohio State capable of winning a national championship? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I think it solved its problems. No team's perfect, right? There are no flawless teams outside of Indiana. We're going to talk about them in a second. But Ohio State is very good at disguising its flaws, right? The loss to Oregon, one play, fine. I think the floor for Ohio State is very high. The ceiling is not as high as it typically has been at Ohio State, but the floor is very high. And in a season like this, when you've got a lot of those teams, but sometimes, but the floor is lower on most, looking at you, Georgia, looking at you, Alabama, Tennessee, Clemson, maybe Miami with its defense. If your floor is high, you're all right. And that's where Ohio State is. After fixing the problem with its offensive line, proving to me anyway, that Will Howard is good enough to play within himself and play smart, learn from his mistakes, stick with the game plan, execute that game plan. I'm on board with Ohio State. And finally, Mea Culpa Monday. I did not believe in you, Arkansas or Ole Miss. I did not believe that your offense could return to its top form. I thought Arkansas, after a fantastic performance from Taylon Green the week before, had found a little bit of its rhythm, could exploit some deficiencies on Ole Miss defense, although there aren't that many, but they could do it. Because we saw 2 weeks ago, Ole Miss's defense against Jackson Arnold struggled with the running quarterback, especially in the first half. I thought that Arkansas could replicate that game plan. They couldn't. Defensively, fantastic. Offensively, I love the fact that you returned to form, especially this week going in to play the Bulldogs in Oxford. That's a national championship caliber team again. That Ole Miss team is. If they play anywhere close to what they did last week, they're going to beat Georgia. Hence the Lane Kiffin 25,000 pennies, 2 million pennies, whatever it is from 3 years ago from Breaking Tea. Thank you, Breaking Tea, breakingtea.com / Smell Recovered. Got all that stuff there. But Ole Miss fans, I apologize. Generally speaking, I have been on board with Lane Kiffin, been on board with what the Rebels can be. I deferred. I moved away from that. And I was wrong. I was wrong. Today's show brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. We know that being passionate, it's not just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, and agonizing double overtimes, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made for super fans just like you. The fans who are in the parking lot are the last to leave. 5 Hour Energy, they see you. Needed one this morning. I hate that stupid thing, Case of the Mondays, but Office Space is a fantastic movie, so we will reference that. Had a very busy Sunday, SiriusXM. My son got baptized, had some travel ball, and then did 11 Alive News Sports on Sports Extra late night. So needed a 5 Hour Energy this morning. Took it right out of there. Boom. Feeling good right now. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help you keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with the 5 Hour Energy. Available at 5hourenergy.com, and of course, it is shipped anywhere. SEC Power Rankings, which is basically code for y'all get angry. Y'all get angry. There's nothing like power ranking. In this business, I'm going to give you a little insight. I've been in sports media since 2001, right? Back in the day, I worked at College Football News, and Pete Futek, who is just an absolutely awesome dude, we convinced him a while back to, start doing some stuff to drive clicks and get people angry. And so we did power rankings and stuff like that. And this is 08, 09, stuff like somewhere around there. And we found out just everybody gets so angry. They say they hate it, but they love it. And I know you're going to love these power rankings right here. I'm going to read it out loud for those listening, but for those watching, you can see it. Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Alabama, LSU, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Florida at 10, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Auburn at 14, Kentucky at 15, and Mississippi State at 16. All right. Some key spots here. If you have any comments, please, this is live, so you can comment. I will answer some of your questions next segment if you have any good ones. But with these power rankings, the reason I moved Ole Miss over Alabama and over LSU is exactly what we said last segment. The offense has evolved. It's gone back to where it was. They figured things out. They figured out Watkins is there. Trey Harris doesn't matter. They got receivers everywhere. Everywhere. And so that's a complete football team now. No, the defense kind of let them down. I get that. Toward the end, the score doesn't really indicate how dominant that game was, though. That's why Ole Miss is up to number 4. I debated putting them number 3. In fact, I even talked to myself at one point before finishing this graphic that they should be number 2 behind Georgia. Yes, that's how confident I am in this Rebel team. And it's not because those two play each other this weekend. It's because I think that this team is back on the come up. This team is back to a point where it can win a national championship. Headed to Oxford this weekend. If you're around the Grove, come find me. And I'll give you a little hint. I'm not making picks yet, but if I had to make a pick right now, it would be Ole Miss. Even though they are number 4, Georgia number 1 in the power rankings. Georgia's a mess. We talked about this on the wrap-up show on Saturday night. I urge you to go check that out. Go back and check it out on YouTube or Apple or Spotify, whatever. Georgia's a mess, man. I don't know what Carson Beck's problem is. I don't know if he's got a Cavender problem or if he's trying to beat Carson Beck too much or if the lack of rushing attack is hurting him. But, man, he is a mess. Can't wait to get there to Oxford to see that big one. South Carolina up to number 7 ahead of Texas A&M. Let me tell you a little something about South Carolina. And I don't think it's been discussed that much. That team, and I'm not saying their success is the same way. That team is Auburn 2013, where you have a quarterback who can do a few things through the air. Not a lot, but a few. For Auburn, it was Nick Marshall. For South Carolina, it's Lenore Sellers. Do enough to keep defenses honest and then let the rushing attack cook, whether it's Sellers or Rocket Sanders. The ability to keep defenses honest is really what drives that South Carolina team. You combine that with a great defensive front, which, ding, 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 Auburn 2013, and you have yourself a recipe for success. Now, of course, that team's not going to win the national championship. It's not going to win the SEC. It's not going to go to the national championship game and lose with 13 seconds left. Not that I'm still bitter because I went to Auburn, but still, it's a fantastic game. I couldn't be happier for Shane Beamer. That's why they are on the come up. That he's a great coach. He is in the right spot, and the way he's built that program, cherry picking great players in high school, going directly for them and supplementing them with established stars. Spencer Rattler was one of them. Rocket Sanders now on that team, does a fantastic job. Florida at number 10. The reason I put them at number 10 is because Aiden is a Yale transfer and they've got nobody at quarterback. If Lagway was there, I guarantee I would 100% put Florida above Vandy. I would put them way higher. I'd put them above Texas A&M. I might even put them above South Carolina. Here's the thing with Florida. Miami, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Georgia. Those are the losses. There are a lot of teams in the country that would lose those games. Since then, or despite that, they've gone through a quarterback loss to Graham Mertz. They put DJ Lagway in as a true freshman. He actually had success. Now, obviously, he's gone, but they still find a way to run the football. They still are stout defensively. I tell you what, guys, Florida actually is a pretty good football team. We talked about it last week. Billy Napier is coaching his way back into that job. And I would say I would be shocked if he's fired right now because the expectations for starting a third-string quarterback who is a Yale transfer, the expectation that you should make a bowl game is gone. No matter what Billy Napier does from here on out, the success that he's had through the first 2 months of the season, and yes, there has been a lot of success, has earned him one more year at Florida. And I tell you what, they're 10th in my power rankings. They would be 7th or 8th had Lagway not gotten hurt. I truly believe they would have beaten Georgia. And even if they didn't, that team would have competed their tails off and made it very scary for the Bulldogs. Beyond that, Missouri's at 11. I just never bought into Missouri all that much. Don't really care about them. Auburn at 14, Kentucky at 15, Mississippi State 16. Nothing really to talk about there. Honestly, nothing really to talk about there. It will be interesting this week to see if anything changes because you got some big ones. You got some big ones in the SEC. LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia. Really, probably 2 elimination games. Maybe not for Georgia, an elimination game. For Alabama, LSU, and Ole Miss, elimination games. Because I say, looking at this SEC right now, it's kind of cannibalizing itself. I think 4 teams will get in, and 3 is more likely than 5. Got a Big 12 problem. Colorado's going to be in that mix. I know people hate to hear that. The team that benefited most from this weekend is Colorado. They didn't even play, or maybe SMU. But SMU might have benefited more, but whatever. They have a Big 12 problem. They have an ACC problem too. 3 ACC teams might get in. But we talked about on Saturday night, SMU is one of them. They're getting into the college football playoff. We'll wrap it up. We'll talk about the college football playoff rankings that come out Tuesday night. And I think the most intriguing team in those rankings. Where will they be? Who are they? Talk about it next here on College Football Smothered and Covered. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbooks. Hey, new customers, you can bet $5 and get $150 guaranteed in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it's right on the same page that you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, college football playoff rankings coming out Tuesday night. Rankings come out Tuesday, Election Day, National Championship on Inauguration Day. Doesn't mean anything, but college football's kind of hurt itself. Just saying. Playoff rankings. The team that I'm most excited to hear about and see are the Indiana Hoosiers. Now, there are, 6 former players or coaches on that committee. In a situation like this, in a year that is pretty flawed all around, you have an Indiana team that is perfect. Not just in the record book, on the record sheet, but Indiana has not won a game by less than 14 points. They lost their starting quarterback. It didn't matter. Yes, the schedule is not great, but nobody plays anybody in college football. It's always that way. It'll be that way forever. If Indiana had a scarlet and gray helmet on, or had some wings with an O logo on the back, or had a G on the side of its helmet instead of an IU, where would Indiana be ranked in the playoff rankings? 1. I think Indiana is going to be a top 5 team because of the individuals on that committee who understand that winning, especially winning big and withstanding a loss at the most important position on the field, matters. Now, are they going to be number 1? No. Brand matters. They'll never tell you it does, but it does. But they should be top 5. I think they will be top 5. Write it down. Sharpie. Indiana will be a top 5 team in the college football playoff rankings. They should be number 1. If they had a scarlet and gray helmet, they would be number 1. They don't, but brand matters. They'll never tell you that. Indiana is one of the best stories that we've had in college football in a very long time. TCU turning it around, going to the national championship game, maybe. Kurt Signetti coming over there with a bunch of James Madison players and winning at this level is just, it blows me away. And they deserve a ton of credit. I think they'll get it. I think they'll get it tomorrow. Hopefully people actually watch it, although considering what's going on tomorrow, I have my doubts. I have my doubts. Thank you for making this your first lesson or first listen every single day. You can make it a lesson too. I don't care. But thank you for making this your first listen every single day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy does a great job. Locked On any of the conference channels. Awesome over there. You can also go check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin does great over there as well. Hey, join the subtext group. You can text me. I can text you. Had a lot of fun with the subtext group on Saturday. There was a lot going on. We chit-chatted like we were best friends because you know what? If you're watching the show, if you're listening to the show, we are best friends. So like, subscribe, share it, do all that stuff as well. But the link for the subtext group right below. If you see me, I'm pointing. If you don't see me, still it's right below in the description to go sign up for that. Use code COLLEGE, and we can have fun texting. I'll tell you all about my life. Son got baptized yesterday, had a travel ball tournament, did TV on 11 Alive, all that stuff. We'll talk about all of it in subtext group. Until Tuesday, have a great one.